great cast on the day as always, and let's talk about the fact that Team Envy come up with a much-needed win, to be honest. Yesterday, we said, okay, they looked pretty good against Flyquest. Maybe they're improving. Actually seal the deal here. That's heartening.
Right, and I think it wasn't just that they won. It was kind of the way they did. Obviously, Immortals didn't look like they were playing at their best, but they had a number of situations in the mid and late game that Envy played out well enough that you can say that a lot of other teams around their area aren't playing those situations as well. So I think there's a number of things that are looking better for Envy, and the things that they often relied on are still looking good. Like Lyra's still playing really good. Seraph can take over games as long as he's set up correctly. And the bot lane mostly does their job, which is all you really need them to do, assuming the Lyra's doing what he should do.
And yet Hakuho, kill leader in the game. He got 4 on the support Lulu. Oh, baby, he's blasting kids. So let's talk about, things that happened in this game. Envy, of course, we can celebrate their win. I want to talk about people who are underperforming, though. Immortals had the easiest possible week in the North American LCS, and they lost both those matches. And Dardoch is someone I think is largely to blame. In game 1s, he looks good. And then in game 2 and 3, he looks pretty abysmal. So we've got a B-roll to run out about the things he's been doing. And you can see, hey, sometimes there's good stuff. That's a really slick dive. He's making things happen. He's up against Envy, of course, right? Finds Lyra in the jungle, is able to jump on him. And like, hey, Dardoch can make really good early plays sometimes. But the score is 0-0. You go into game 2, and now you've got a lot of boneheaded moves. Oh, gets caught up by the chain CC. And he's over-aggressive in a lot of these plays as well. He's going into fight, exactly like this. He's 2 levels down, doesn't have any armor, and just like, there's no assist. He just didn't realize he's going to get killed there.
Right. I mean, part of that can be due to champion unfamiliarity. You can say, like, how many people have played a ton against Talon?
Well, don't make that mistake. He plays solo queue.
I was going to say, probably a bunch of people in solo queue, of course. But in a competitive environment, like, either way, he shouldn't go take that queue. Like, what are you hoping to get off that? Are you really going to insta-give him? I think his ult was down. I think he just used it to play bot lane. So he's a player that we often talk about maybe having tilt issues or something, but I think a lot of this, it didn't look like he was super tilted this game. It just looks like he might have an issue keeping up his energy over the course of like a series where if things aren't snowballing really hard and he can get really amped up about the win, if it is a little bit of a slugfest like this series was, and even the Team Liquid one, it feels like that might drag him down a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. So we'll see if more of this can start shaping up for Immortals. Like, they came into this week with a pretty solid record, and of the 2-week break, we're wondering, what can they do for themselves? Turns out they didn't gain a whole lot. Looks like they regressed a little bit, and maybe Liquid, maybe Envy start moving themselves up. So we can start going back to singing Envy's praises. I wanted to get that Dardoch dig because I feel like he deserved it. Overall, good stuff from Envy, right?
Yeah, and I think we talk about how important Lyra is for the team. He had the initial dive top at level 3. This is an old school Season 3, Season 4, everyone remembers it. Like, the Elise Renekton combo was brutal. You're dead at 3, almost no counterplay, and that's what happened this game, and it's something that you're going to see a lot more. Teams have been trying it and actually been doing it in multiple regions, so it's definitely a play that's going to happen a lot more. And then with that, he reganked again. There's the jungle skirmish that went Envy's favor as well, and there was a small over-aggression in the bot lane during a dive, but that was also well played by Immortals bot lane there, with Ole getting a good silence off.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, there were some good plays on all sides. We can talk about player of the game real quick. Lyra getting it this time around, I think deservedly so. Hakuho gets an honorable mention for being that kill leader, Lulu making good plays, but Lyra's the one who got the snowball rolling, got all the start, and as you mentioned, he's playing consistently well, and that's something that Envy can key off of to continue to do better. We look at the teams around them, and the standings will be up in a little bit here, but they are only 1 match win behind Team Dignitas. Right, not only do they already own 9th because they own the head-to-head over Liquid already, they're 1 match behind 8th, which is Dignitas, and they're only 2 matches behind the next 2, which is Immortals and Echo Fox. And again, that's 2 match wins with 6 to play against teams that are kind of floundering. That's now a playoff spot. So, like, Envy, who were in dead last, now in 9th, and are literally a week away from reaching playoffs.
Yeah, I think you can look at a lot of the bottom tier teams in that kind of situation. And Envy, like we said, they seem to be doing some things better. It seems like you can basically count on Lyra making some good plays in the early game. There was always the problem with their solo laners being really inconsistent and dying. I think this week was a little bit better, especially this series, as opposed to their one yesterday. And as long as they can keep up this kind of, not super clean play, but against the other teams that they're competing to get out of relegations with and potentially into playoffs, none of those teams are playing that cleanly. So I think with this level of play, they might have a chance.
Yeah, and that is the thing, is as you mentioned, inconsistent solo laners, Seraph and Ninja, very often just get into really stupid scenarios. Ninja had it controlled the last couple of games, and that was good, but we saw yesterday, like, Seraph got solo killed as Rumble against Nautilus. Like, you can't let these kinds of things happen, and if this gets cleaned up, I mean, as with any of these teams, right? Like, these are, challenger solo queue players. We know they can be good enough. It's just a matter of not screwing it up any farther than they have been, and you just kind of hope for the Envy fans that they start seeing the better version of this team.
Yeah, and I think it seems like potentially the meta is moving a little bit in their favor. I think a lot of the players on this team like being playmakers, and you see playmakers in the jungle, top, and mid lane right now. Even though Lyra's talent has left a little to be desired for a lot of us, I think.
Right.
He still shows that he tends to get leads on it, though sometimes he plays a little loose with them afterwards. Just, oh, there's a wall, I can jump there. Let me see who's on the other side. I think he could tone down that part a little bit.
Maybe not so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, we can recount the fact that, you know, I've always liked Apollo as a player from basically back with Coast and everything. And Hakko seems to be pretty solid as well. And there are the pieces of the puzzle, right? The consistent bot lane, the playmaking top three, and they seem to be starting to work better together as well. And this is a team that I think can definitely continue to scale up throughout the season. And with 3 weeks left, I should say, in the regular season, we'll see who ends up grabbing that 6th place spot. Maybe it does become Envy. But now, before we pull up our team standings, let's take a look at the player of the game standings and which one specifically stood out in this week. First off, Impact leads the week with 3 player of the games, a max of 4. You can only win 4 games any given week. Of course, plenty of players at 2. Haunter, Piglet, and Lyra. Piglet, by the way, doubling his total player of the game since he was not very successful in the bot lane, but certainly has looked a little bit better in the mid lane. He got 2 player of the games and the 3 game wins that Liquid had. And Pobelter, Xmithy, and Balls each earned their first player of the game honor this week, and so props to those 3 as well for getting into the standings. So let's look at split wide. Well, now Impact's in first place with the several that he grabbed this time around. Dardoch and Moon still pretty close behind, but not quite as good weeks for them means it's Impact who's leading the charge and doing very well for himself. So player of the game, always fun to look at, but let's look at where the teams overall stack up amongst each other. Standings. Who's in the best? Well, it's Cloud9 and TSM, obviously. Number 1 and number 2, Cloud9 does still own head-to-head thanks to the overall game record, as their head-to-head is tied 1-1 in matches. FlyQuest still holding on to 3rd, although they are now 3 matches behind, just like Phoenix. 1 is a bit of a lead gained by C9 and TSM. Of course, only 6 matches to go. It means they're almost guaranteed those buys. Pretty soon they will be. Echo Fox right there just under player position in 7th, but they can still make up some space as they're only a few games behind Immortals. Meanwhile, Envy finally into 9th themselves. Even though the game record is bad, they have 2-0'd Liquid in matches. They own the head-to-head. That cannot be broken. In a 2-way tie, Envy owns it outright. Now we'll be back again next week with more North American LCS, of course, and on Friday, we have Team Liquid going up against first place Cloud9. Good luck in the battle arena, and then FlyQuest take on Phoenix 1. Battle for 3rd and 4th. That's going to be a whole bunch of fun to watch. And if you need even more league action, then make sure to tune in to the start of the North American Challenger Series playoffs Wednesday with this guy.
I'll be there.
Gold Coin United featuring Mad Life versus Tempo Storm featuring Freeze and Quas. Gonna be a bunch of fun to watch for, and whoever wins is gonna be in the promo tournament against maybe it's Liquid, maybe it's Envy. We'll see who it ends up being. It's gonna be one to watch for sure. Now stick around after the show for North American LCS tonight, where myself, Azael, and Kobe will be checking out the responses you guys sent to our Twitter question of the day. So now for me, casters, the wonderful analysts over here, the camera crew, everybody who made the LCS possible, thank you very much for watching the North American LCS. Good night, and we'll see you for NA LCS tonight, about 15 minutes.
You seem so good in the mid lane.